Competition ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing. I don't hear one word they say. That this shit light work. Keep on humming one of us. He might lose his life first. Sucker love his tail. Never caught the stress the nigga. He a demon. It's an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. With that open blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. Fuck the opposition. I see vision. Let me pay the trick. Rappers can they spit. I ain't listening. It's a fact. Give her fans with some woman. Now I stop that bitch like James. We gon' run the summer. It's gonna be historical. Thought they making plays, make them niggas call the audible. As you run this shit, but the question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one nigga took it with the oil. I'ma get him cracking hell. Should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a lot of cities for my niggas. Pray you understand it. I'ma put a switch on this guy and call it young guy. How you real treated on the dot? You a bird feeder. Claim me here, nigga. What's a nigga to a cow liver? When he says so, I ain't hear this shit like it. Ain't no who got the gun. It's no who gon' up that right first. I turn a bad situation to a gang. Three soldiers from the dead. Just ain't nothing change for your shots. I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run a nigga. Bite their hand and feed you. You will never get that hand back. Bitch about 10%. I don't want to hear none of that. He dropping small fuck him. Just make sure you get that cover back. Look around. He ain't with him. Probably cause he never bought it. Now my chin like you with that angel for your brother. Everybody wanna be rich and poor. Dark him like Alpha. Play if you want to stand in the trunk like Lee Alpha. A certified rubber ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I'm with that hollow son. Yeah, this the rubber court. Feel like Bill and Jack when I'm in Fairville. You feel your boy. Still up on my bread, still I think that's all that I do. When I get it, boy, lost, they gon' stop to call it bell run. Fucking gang, come out on them demons like a bell boy.
I'm 44 shit, you know what I mean? Busy man. Look, when that shit drop, you step all the way on their neck, step on their neck and they head with that shit.
Friday, I ain't show no mercy, we gon' show them both what time it is. I'll pop up like a Samuel. I got time to kill. Niggas thought I died, I survived. They know how I did. Got it up the mud, traded gold. They know how I did. Nice book, he don't show them skills. I show them skills. He ride book, he don't work the wheel. How I work the wheel. Yeah, I'm inside the circle tight. Yeah, thank you, single. Know they want my life. I ain't worried. I got rape for it. I got real soldiers, kill for me, nigga. Watch yourself. They say you been in beast mode lately. You is now. We jumping in fire. Princess Spanish, they inquiring. They can't stop me coming, but I see them conspire. Cross the line, I'm firing. This bitch here, finna break your skin on fire. That's how I trust you, so small. You can keep your features. Me and my niggas don't keep no serious. And it feel like Jesus on him. They want some smoke, though. So I blow these chimney strings. Coming like we, you can't even care. These niggas don't run it like we running. Bitch, don't even stop. Bitch, I'm with my niggas till the end, till that dude's part. If you wanna leave, you can leave, bitch. Bless your heart, find me. I ain't show no mercy, we gon' show them what time it is. I pop out like a Samuel. I got time to kill. They just thought I died, I survived. They know how I did it. Got it up the mud, traded good. They know how I feel. He nice, but he don't show them skills. How I show them skills. He ride, but he don't work the wheel. How I work the wheel. Oh, I got a man, purple tight, yeah, back to seal. I heard they want my life. I ain't worried. I got rape for it. Take over in effect. Yeah, I'm fully focused. You might not see it on me, you know it's women. That bitch fully loaded. Yeah, we up the road. Told them I need major motion. Nigga, I'm joking. I'ma school them niggas like they baby Jody. Got it up in dust. Not too clean. Don't nobody hate me. What you wanna ride, dog? Feel it for the baby boy. You PK top, dog. Certified road runner. I'ma turn that eagle line man to a damn check. I got choppers slashed in that attic like they in front. They had this shit on lock until I snapped on them like roll cutters. You cannot break Most High Christ. It's Isupk, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana, this Priest Officer Yaramat, holding it down out of Goldsboro, Slovakia. You understand? We're gonna hop right into it, man. This is the Wednesday law class. Of course, for those who's maybe the first time tuning in or don't know what it is that they're watching, this is the Israelite School of UPK, like I said, man, and this is the home of the truth and the truth of the Bible. You understand? Of course, as for so long, for 400 years in America, we consider the Bible to be a book that is used or belonging to the religion of Christianity. And you understand, we associate the Bible with the Christian church and the teachings of the Christian church or Christian dogma, whatever you want to call it. However, you understand, even if this is your first time listening to these words, as absurd as what I'm saying may sound, even you yourself may have said yourself, or you know someone that knows someone who has said that there's hypocrisies in the church, that there are things that are taught inside the church that just are hypocritical or that contradict what you may have read yourself inside of the Bible, which is why you're seeing a change in the millennials who are now staring away from the Christian church. Well, the problem is that is not because of a millennial feeling that is against the Christian church. The problem is that that evidence that you may have of hypocrisy in a church is actually true. There are things that for one, of course, we would say everything that the Christian church teaches is a lie, and it has a stigma on it. You understand that it's so true because of how sweet and how soft it is, and how forgiving and merciful and how loving it is. So we believe it to be true. However, even in its smooth, soft, forgiving, loving words, the things that are said by the pastors or by our Christian leaders are lies as it pertains to the Bible. You understand? Like, we have to get one thing understood in the Black community. When a pastor goes up there and he is giving a sermon, or he's preaching about prosperity, or preaching about love and life and you having a good life, that prosperity preaching and the Bible are two different things. They're not the same. You understand? Like, I could have this book and I could go out to a whole football team and motivationally speak to them and make them feel good and make them feel motivated to go out there and work hard. But just because I hold a Bible in my hand doesn't mean that the words that I'm telling that team is coming from God, which is what pastors do. It's what Martin Luther King did. He walked around with a Bible in his head and he told you to peaceful protest. But peaceful protest is nowhere in this book. So where did he get that idea from? These are just some of the things, some of the lies that have been taught and pushed on our people to make our people weak. That's exactly what it is, to pacify our people, like how you would give a pacifier to a baby. That's what the pastors do. They pacify our people by teaching us that we have to love those who hate us, that we have to love the man who enslaved our people, that we have to love people who murder our children, who murder our elderly, who push laws to put our people in prison for years and years and years, while their people get to live free by committing some of the most atrocious crimes that this place has ever known. You understand? And so what you're seeing today in this class is the truth being pushed back into the earth to overshadow the lies that the Christian church has put on us, man. And we raising up men and women, you understand, older, younger, all age alike, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, to come back to the Most High and to serve the Lord our God. You understand? And that's what you're saying. So with that being said, if anyone have any questions, whether in the room, right, or on a chat, just you go ahead right now, just type your questions in the chat if you have them online. If you feel like you have a question, but it's something that you need to ask, like in person, is too much to type. If you need to call in, we could do that as well. We could set that up, get you called in, and it doesn't matter. Don't think that your questions have to be like your questions have to be agreeable to the topic. Your questions don't have to be in the spirit of agreement to what I'm saying. You could be in total disagreement to what we teach and still ask those questions, because regardless of if you believe in Christianity, if you believe in Islam, if you believe in Buddha,
or Pan-Africanism or Egyptology, regardless of what you believe, all of us as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians have one thing in common, and that's that our people are dying in the streets of America. And so right now ain't the time to not talk about these issues because of our different beliefs. This is the time to bring your belief forward. If you believe that the Quran is what's going to fix Black people, then step up to the plate. Bring your belief or bring your ideology or spirituality forward, and we'll test it. We'll test it against the Bible, and of course, we'll show you that the Bible trumps all religion and it trumps all spirituality that you have. But if you don't ever bring it forward, then we would never know. You understand? So don't be a coward. Don't be scared. Ask your questions, type them in the chat, call in if need be. Is there anything in the room? All right, if there's nothing in the room, if I could, Bible shot, let me get Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1 real quick, and then we're going to get into it. Again, and if at any time anyone have any questions or any comment, just type it in the chat. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Zephaniah, the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1 reads, "Gather yourselves together, ye, gather together, O nation not desired."
Now, this is the book of Zephaniah, and this is what he's teaching us, man. He's teaching Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians to gather together. You understand? Yes, those Mexican brothers that you beef with are your brothers, man. Them Native American Indian brothers that you disregard as a people are your brothers. And if you think about it, all of us got the same thing in common, man. All of our people has been oppressed and enslaved by the same man. All of us. The Native American Indians was living in this land, and our oppressor did what? They came over here, you understand, and lied to them, man. Gave them smallpox, made over 100 peace treaties with the Native American Indians, and didn't keep not one of them, and then slaughtered 77 million of them on the Trail of Tears, man. You understand? And then pushed them into reservations and kept pushing them, man. And then look at us. Here we are in America as Blacks. You understand? We were put enslaved. You understand? We were told that we was going to be indentured servants for 7 years in America, and then we was going to be taken back to the west coast of Africa. That's what they told us. But they lied. That was a treaty that they broke. And then when we got over here, they pushed religion, and then they pushed their culture on us, and then made us slaves, and then murdered us. And then even in the ghettos today, they call it gentrification now today. But gentrification is no different than what they did to the Native American Indians, pushing them on reservations and pushing them now further. And you see it, especially we in Goldsboro, North Carolina right now. So I know you see it if you know anything about Durham or Raleigh, where they pushing the poor Blacks and Native Indians and the minorities out of neighborhoods and pushing them into worse areas of the city. You understand? It's the same thing. Same thing with the Mexican brothers. The Texas used to belong to the Mexicans, man. But because of the treaties that they made, they paid for it, and then they started to slaughter the Mexicans, man. They slaughtered the ancient Aztecs and the ancient Incas, man, and the Mayans. And they made them erase their culture. And them Spaniards started to teach them that their name was Hector or Gomez, right? And then they enslaved them and then pushed them south and south out of America. And then now they got them in cages on the border of America on a land that belonged to them. So we all have a common oppressor, man. And that's why the Bible is telling us to gather together. You understand? Read that one more time.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1.
Gather
yourselves together. Ye gather together.
Yeah, gather together. Keep going.
O nation not desired.
O nation not desired. Now, again, I just mentioned the Mexicans, Native Indians, and the Blacks. But of course, according to the Bible, they are the nation of Israel. The 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. They are the biblical Israelites. The true Jews that the Bible speaks of are Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? That's a blanket statement for all of them. Now, this is something that we should be learning in the Bible. When you go to church on Sunday, this is something that the Christian pastor is supposed to be teaching us, but they don't. They don't go into who the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, even though they mention all throughout the Bible as being the God's chosen people. And so why don't they do that? Why doesn't your Christian pastor ever mention Zebulun or Reuben or Naphtali or Manasseh or Gad or Judah or Levi or Benjamin? Why don't he ever mention these people? Well, here's the reason. If he tells you who God's chosen people is, then he indirectly makes you see that there's an enemy. And that enemy is going to be the Jewish man. Because if your pastor tells you that after all of these years, we're reading in this book about the Israelites, but the Israelites are actually you, then once you come over the realization that, dang, we God's chosen people, you're going to immediately start to think of, well, how come the Jewish man says that it's him? How come he's the one who says he's the Jew, but my pastor is teaching me that we God's chosen people? Like the book of like the Bible say that the Jews are black. They are black unto the ground. If the pastor started teaching you this, teaching you the truth, then it will force you to wake up to the realization that you have an enemy that is against you. But they can't teach you that. They can't teach you the truth. They got to teach you that color don't matter or everyone is equal. But they only teach you that again so that you could be pacified, man, so that you don't ever believe that there's an enemy. But the problem is this: these other nations see you as an enemy, which is why they murder you. These other nations see you as a threat, which is why every time something happens to our people, you pick up a sign and you do what? You go on the street and protest and you wave signs that says Black Lives Matter. Why are you saying that Black Lives Matter? What's the point of you saying that? Because you know that there's an enemy. You know that whoever that sign is facing is a people who don't believe your life matters, which is why you have the sign. And so if we're smart enough to understand that, then we have to take it all the way. We got to understand that this nation is against us, man. And the way to beating the Christian church is such a lie, man. They'll tell you you gotta beat hate with love. Where is that at in the Bible? Where does it say that at, man? Nowhere. There's nowhere in the Bible that say that, man. The Bible tell you that you have to love your brother, love your people, man. You understand? Which those are things that if we knew that, then P&B Rock would still have his life right now. You understand? King Von would still have his life right now. Young Dolph, all of our brothers and sisters are dying because we murdered each other. That is why Christ said to love thy neighbor as thyself. He was talking about your brother, but he wasn't talking about the other nations. Christ didn't give a damn about the other nations, man. He didn't. You understand? And that's all throughout the Bible. If you need it, I'll pull it. If you don't believe me, if you believe that Christ loved all people equally, then just say that. Say that you believe Christ loved all people equally, and I'll prove you wrong right now. You understand? Easily, with numerous scriptures where Christ called heathen women dogs, man. Where Christ ignored heathens and said, it is not right for me to take my children's bread and cast it to dogs. Where the disciples told him to go away from him because we don't deal with you, man. That's all throughout the Bible. That's how Christ rolled, and that's what he did, man. And he taught his law to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians only. And that's just the truth, whether you like it or not. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
Before the decree, bring forth.
Mm-hmm.
Before the day pass as a chaff.
Mm-hmm.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, man, that's what we got to do. This is it, You understand? We got to get together with blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, teach them who they are, show them how to live by following these law, statutes, commandments, man. And then when Christ come back, we going to be in rulership over this place, man. Just like our oppressors in rulership now. It's not so far-fetched. Remember, there was a time when America was a land that was ruled by the Native Indians. And they had their order and their structure and the gods that they worshiped and their systems that they had. But then one day, what? One day, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And then all of a sudden, years and years later, now the Native American Indians ain't in power no more. But that's not far-fetched. And that same thing is going to happen to our oppressor right here in America. Except Christ ain't rolling in on no ship. You understand? The Bible say that Christ going to crack the sky open, man. And he going to come down and he going to set order in this place. Because right now, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked man, and that wicked man is making this earth tremble, man, because he's such a devil. He's such a devil that the whole earth is hurting. All of the research and the National Geographical channels and all of the scientific studies about how the oil was being drained from the earth, or how the ocean is being hurt, or how the ozone layer is being hurt. You got global warming. All of these things is as a result to the man that is in rulership of this place, and we all know who rules this place. We all know what the language for the world is. We all know what the religion of the world is. You go to China right now, what they look like? They look like, you understand? They wear suits and ties. They don't wear shogun armor. They ain't wearing the Japanese armor or whatever they tribal, their cultural traditional stuff. It's history for them, because even them got taken over by our oppressor. I mean, if you've ever seen that movie, The Last Samurai, you understand? That was what our oppressor did. They went to war with them and they murdered them. And they said, put that Japanese stuff up and put on this suit. Put that Japanese Buddha monk stuff up and worship this white Jesus. And that's what they pushed on them, just like they pushed on us, which is why America has to fall for the crimes that they committed, man. You understand? But drop that. Give me First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 27. Because I'm gonna show you what your Christian pastor is supposed to be teaching you, man. We're supposed to be teaching you to build up strong black men. You understand? Not lawless, wicked bastards in the earth that just run around and rob and steal from each other and murder each other because of colors and so on and so forth. Not women who just prosecute. You got it? 2 and 27. Not women who just prostitute their body out, man. Just being whores and just sleeping with everybody that they could get a hand on, man. That's not what we supposed to be raising up, but that is what the Christian church raises. You understand? Read what you got.
This is First Maccabees 2, verse 27.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
And so this is Mattathias, man. Mattathias was a very hardcore brother. We're gonna get into some of these stories, man, that your Christian pastor will never teach you. But there's some hardcore brothers in this Bible, man. Like, one thing about the Christian church that always killed me was that it felt like being in a church and being a man that you almost had to be gay. It was almost like you had to be soft and you had to go in there, you had to touch people's shoulders. You just had to say, hey, brother, hey, son, you know it's gonna be like it was so hard. You understand? I remember one scenario being in church so vividly, man. It was in Greensboro. I forget the name of the church, but I remember seeing this Crip. Right, he was a grown man. He was a gangbanger. He was in there, and I remember looking at him because he stood out. Like, this was clearly a gangbanger. He had the blue flag and everything, and he went in there, man. And the pastor started speaking or whatever. And at some point, I remember this dude crying. I remember he started crying and then foaming at the mouth and then running around the church like some child, man, screaming, running around the church like he Chris Tucker on Rush Hour. And I remember thinking to myself, like, the fear that I had, not to say I was scared of him, but you understand the feeling when it's like you see a man, it's like, okay, this brother right here could cause some drama. Let me watch him. But that feeling that I had for him, when he started doing that, it was almost like, yo, this dude is not, he's gay. You understand? Like, the strength that brother had completely left. It completely left when he started foaming at the mouth and begging on his knees, so on and so forth, just doing kind of all kinds of disgusting things, man. But that is the spirit of Christianity, and you think that that's how you serve the Lord. When the Lord don't like that, when have you ever heard of David foaming at the mouth and praying and getting on his knees and screaming? You ain't never heard of that. You did hear David killing Goliath, though. You did hear that. You did hear David taking the armies of Israel out and slaughtering the Philistines. You've heard those stories. You understand? But the things that the Christian church teaches is not in the Bible. As a matter of fact, it's in the Bible to not do those things, to cry in the synagogues so that you can be seen by men. That's in the Bible, to not do those things. Praying in front of each other. The Bible says that when thou prayest, thou shalt pray in thy closet, between he and thee alone, meaning you and your father. But yet we in the church doing what? The complete opposite. You understand? There's so many hypocritical things that the church teaches, man, that you do. And of course, we don't know that it's hypocritical because we raised in it. We raised in this life, in this religion, thinking that this is just the way that we supposed to do things. You seen your grandmama do it, you seen your aunts and your uncles do it, and you don't ever question it because the church ain't a place to ask questions. I ain't never seen a church that had the environment of a place where you could raise your hand. I ain't never seen a church like that. You could raise your hand and ask a question. You understand? And that comes from the Protestant church. Them churches that you see in the movies, when they wear the red robes, them Italians, and they all you hear is la 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 la. This language that you can't understand. That is where that came from, because they wanted to be the ones to interpret it to you, which is why they said it in a language that you couldn't read, which is why King James had the Bible translated from Italian and Greek into, from the Greek into the English. That's why he did it, because the people they couldn't read the Bible because it was in a language they didn't understand. And so if you went to the priest, they would tell you what? Yeah, the Bible, the good book says you have to give me money. And the Bible don't say that. But of course, because you don't read the Bible, you have no choice but to do what? But to listen. And that's the same thing we're doing in Christianity. You don't question the pastor. So you have no choice but to do what? To listen. And so now you look like a stupid idiot foaming at your mouth running around a church. And then the Lord don't like weak men. The Lord hate that, man. The Bible say that the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name, man. He don't want that. You understand? And this is what these classes are so important, man, because that got to stop. We got to chip away from that weakness, man, because that weakness is why these police officers don't give a damn about shooting you. They don't give a damn about shooting black people, because what are you going to do? You ain't going to do nothing but cry and then go to church and then forgive them. You're going to cry for a little bit, go to church, and then you're going to go out. What was that brother who just got shot like 20 times in his back? What was that brother's name, man? I forget his name, but I think at the end, like in the trial, the family members of the brother who got killed, they went up to the cop and started hugging on the cop that killed them. Same thing with Dylan Storm Ruth back in Charleston, South Carolina. When he went into the church and shot 9 of our people, they turned around. The families of those people turned around and was persuaded by the Christian church to forgive him. What idiotic buffoonery is that? You gonna forgive this boy? Your grandmama's in church praying, trying to live a good life, and he goes inside of a bag, pulls out an AR-15 and blows her brain out, and you forgive him? That's nonsense. And don't tell me that that's the Christian way, because America's supposed to be Christian, but when them Middle Easterns bombed 9/11, America ain't forgive nobody. They ain't forgive nothing. They went to the Middle East and they bombed over 100,000 people that ain't have nothing to do with the Twin Towers. Families, babies, mothers, elderly, people who just living. And they bombed them to piss for what they did in 9/11. America ain't forgiving nothing. What you got?
Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker?
Yeah, 46 gunshot.
Yeah. You understand? And they forgive it, and they forgive the killers of their family, man. But America don't forgive nobody. America don't forgive nothing, but America's supposed to be Christian. America's supposed to be a Christian country, man. You understand? But this is what we got to start to learn, is that what they teach us is a damn lie, man. It's a lie. Let me see. What was we at?
First language 2:27.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, go to verse 19. So again, this is Mattathias, man, and this is a brother who, in today's time, this would have been like your Nat Turner. This would have been like your brothers in the UPK. Mattathias was a real nigga. And then we about to read about this brother because some y'all got to learn about your ancestors, man. This is a brother who lived 1,000 years ago, but he's showing you what you should do when you in a place or a rulership that is ruled by people who are your enemies, and how you should conduct yourself and what things you should do. So we're gonna see what Mattathias did back during the time of the Maccabees when his enemies was in rulership of his people. Go ahead, read what you got, verse 18.
This is the book of First Maccabees 2, verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen had done. Ye and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem.
So now the king right now, right? The king is trying to persuade Mattathias to persuade his people to come and follow the king's commandments, meaning to do what the king wants them to do, which is to break the laws of God, which is why he said, which is why he said, and fulfill the king's commandments, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, meaning get your brothers also as such that remain in Jerusalem. Keep going.
So shalt thou in thine house be in the number of the king's friends.
So he's persuading him. He's saying, if you just be a good Christian, if you just come to church, be a good Christian, shave your face, be good, then you'll be in the number of the king's friend, meaning you'll be a friend of America. As long as you shut up and dribble the basketball, or shut up and throw a football, and don't speak on politics. How many of y'all remember when, I forget that devil name, but they told LeBron James to shut up and dribble? You understand? This is exactly what this is talking about. As long as you just be good and shut up and don't do what Colin Kaepernick did, God forbid, you understand? Then you'll be cool. You keep your job. Keep your job throwing a football and making millions. But the second you speak out, then you're not going to be in the number of the king's friends. And so he's trying to persuade Mattathias to persuade black people to turn against their God and to be good Americans. Keep going.
And thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards.
And those children, you're going to get paid for this, man. Y'all going to be the next Al Sharpton. Y'all going to be the next Jesse Jackson if you just do what I say. Keep going.
Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice.
He did what?
Spake with a loud voice.
He spake with a loud voice, man. This ain't like your Christian pastor. I'm sorry to tell you this. This ain't like your smooth talking, soft, weak Christian pastor. Mattathias spoke with a loud voice. You understand? Keep going.
Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments. He said, so
Mattathias spoke with a loud voice, and this was his response to the king. He said, though all these other heathens, they may get rid of their religion. You understand? What is that? What is that today? Who is Mattathias talking to today? Right? Who is these other nations who got rid of their fathers' religions, their ancestrally cultures? That's your Chinese. It's your Chinese people. It's your Hawaiians. It's your Japanese people, your Australians. These people used to have the cultures of their families. Now, they may hold on to little relics, or they may hold on to little garments and things like that. But as far as being a tribal Polynesian warrior, that's a thing in the past. You ain't that. No, you work at McDonald's if you were Polynesian today. You understand? You in a church if you're a Polynesian today. You're not in the woods doing nothing. All of that stuff they do on football when they that's a little bit of holding on that a white man lets them have. Like, yeah, y'all can keep that. But after y'all done with this, y'all gonna go play football, which is an American sport. You understand? And this was happening thousands of years ago. All of the nations gave up the cultures and the traditions and the gods of their forefathers. Keep going.
Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
Mattathias didn't do what your Christian pastors do. He said, yet will I and my sons and my fathers We're going to follow after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're going to continue the traditions of the ancient Israelites. We're going to rock our garments with the fringes down to the foot. We're going to not eat shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster. We ain't going to celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving and holidays. We're not going to forget what our forefathers laid down for us. Our people died so that we can have the things that we have. We're not going to forget about it and submit unto what you want us to submit to. This is what Mattathias said. Your pastor would never say this. You understand? Keep going.
God forbid that we should forsake the law.
Right.
And the ordinance.
Keep going.
We will not hearken to the king's words.
To
go from our religion.
He said we would not hearken unto the king's words to go from our religion. Keep going.
Either on the right hand or the left.
Man, Mattathias a cold brother. This brother said we ain't going away from our religion either this way or that way. One way or the other, we either die or we live. But we ain't gonna submit to your religion. We're gonna keep our own. Keep going.
Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all.
Hold on now. Now, after Matt out here, y'all gotta pay attention, man. Because this is real. Picture this happening in your head. Picture you talking to the president of the United States, and he telling you, man, you and your people, y'all need to submit unto the ways of America, and then y'all gonna be good. I'm gonna set y'all up. I'm gonna give y'all a nice little house. Y'all gonna be in the neighborhood as long as you just get rid of that Israelite stuff that y'all doing. But then our leader is saying, to hell with that. One way or another, we keeping our culture and our identity, and I don't give a damn what you got to say about it. Right? That's the picture. That's what Mattathias is doing right now. But now here come your Christian pastor. Picture your Christian pastor, the one that you see on Sunday. This is him, and this is what he does. Read what you got.
To sacrifice on the altar.
Read it from there came one of the Jews. So this was one of the brothers.
There came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Malta, according to the king's commandment.
Meaning one of the Jews came up and they sacrificed on the altar, which is what the king had commanded the Jews to do. This is your Christian pastor. He said, man, to hell with that. I ain't fighting against the king. I'm about to come get the sacrifice. Keep going, verse 24.
Verse 24 reads, which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal.
It said, which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal. He was mad that one of his people had went and did what the king had said to do. You understand? He was inflamed with zeal, like he really wanted to kill him because he went and submitted himself unto a man that's murdering his people. Just like your Christian pastor. They'll go and submit themselves to a man. They'll sit at the table and delegate and dialogue and make laws and make promises and things like that with people that's killing your people, man. Now, I don't know about you, but if someone kidnaps my family and they murdering my family and they inside some warehouse, right? I don't know about y'all. Y'all, I don't know if you Christian, you different. I don't know, but we different around here. But I ain't going into that warehouse with no briefcase and some documents and some papers to sign. I'm going in there just like how you can imagine. And one way or another, somebody dying, whether it's me or whether it's them, but I'm going to save my family. Your Christian pastor will go in there and they will try to sit down and say, well, let's just talk this out. While your grandmother bleeding out because they done slit her throat. And Salaka if it's too graphic, but this is how serious this is because they really do kill our people. And yet we try to make deals and try to sit down with them when right now, this is an act of war, man, that America has put up against our people. Just like when, what was it, like a year ago, I think about 12 Chinese people got killed. And they came up quickly with what? A Chinese hate bill. Quickly, they came up with it. Where's the hate bill for black people? Where's the bill that protects us from hate crimes against racist police officers that we've been dealing with for 400 years? Where's the bill against that? There ain't one. But China got one quick. You understand? But your pastor, they won't ever fight for you to have a hate bill. No, they're gonna get that money though. But this is what Mattathias saw, man. He was inflamed. Keep going. After the zeal.
And his reins trembled.
Mm-hmm.
Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he reigned. So
because of the law of God, he knew that he could not go and kill his brother, even though his brother deserved to die for what he had did, for turning against his people, for turning against the children of Israel. But he knew that he couldn't go and kill his brother according to the law of the Bible, or according to the law of his fathers. Hold on 1 second. Salaki. You understand? So instead of fighting with his brother, he left. He ran away. You understand? Keep going.
And slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice. He killed at that time.
And he killed the commissioner of the king. You understand? Keep going.
And the altar he pulled down.
And he pulled the altar down. He was enraged, man. You understand? He was enraged at what was happening. So he went and killed the commissioner. And then he pulled the altar down. He tore it up, which is what a lot of you should do to them Christian churches. You should go in there. You should tear it up. You understand? Keep going.
Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phineas did to Zambri, the son of Saul.
Which is just another example of a brother who, you understand, dealt with the same thing that Mattathias is having to deal with today or in this time. You understand? Keep going.
And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he said to the people, Mattathias said to the rest of the Israelites, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, follow me. Because Mattathias knew, because of what he had done to the king's commissioner, that he was going to have to go into the run. Meaning it was on and popping at this point. You understand? It was on for Mattathias. And so he was calling for everyone to follow him. And those who wanted to keep the traditions of their fathers, they followed him. And those who wanted to submit themselves unto the king, they stayed. Keep going. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there. And so many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness, meaning they were chasing them. So they went down into the woods to live there so that they may be able to find them and get their justice. Keep going. Both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Because afflictions increased sore upon them, meaning they left this kingdom because of the oppression that was being pushed on them, just like the oppression that's being pushed on us today. And so Mattathias and his people, they left, you understand, because they wanted justice. They didn't want to have to be oppressed. They didn't want to have to be the last one hired, first one fired. They didn't want to have their brothers and sisters murdered in the streets for all the people to watch. They didn't want to have to live in Flint, Michigan with no drinking water, or to not have water in Mississippi, or to have laws that or vagrancy laws pushed on them, or black laws or Jim Crow laws pushed on them that got their people killed and in prison, which is just another term for slavery. They didn't want to have to go through those things. And so they left into the wilderness so that they could kind of flee from that oppression, man. You understand? Keep going. Now, when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandments were going down into the secret place in the wilderness. And so now it got back to the king. You understand that the people who had broken the king's commandments had left and they ran into the wilderness. Keep going. Verse 32 reads, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And so now this group of people, this group of Israelites, you understand, they was in the wilderness trying to run away from the persecution of
of the king at the time. But the king sent men after them, just like in the book of Exodus, with Pharaoh sending the Egyptians after the Israelites. And as they sent them, they made war with them on the Sabbath day. Now, this is where leadership comes into play. This is where you know, being in a fake Israelite group can get you killed. Being in a Christian organization can get you killed because their leadership is weak and it lacks. And this is what happened to those who wasn't with Mattathias. These were also Israelites, but they didn't leave with Mattathias at first. They had just left after they heard Mattathias had gone. Keep going.
And they said unto him, let that which you have done hither suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king. And you shall live.
So the king is telling these Israelites, let what you have done suffice. Meaning y'all killed one of the commissioners and you ran away. Let that be enough. Come back to the kingdom, follow the king's commandments, and you'll live. You understand? Keep going.
But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day.
Meaning on the Sabbath, and these was fake Israelites, so they didn't know, right? But on the Sabbath, you are not supposed to do any servile work. You understand? You're not supposed to work. The Sabbath day was made for man so that you could have a day of rest throughout the week. The Sabbath day is a law ordained for those who have hirelings under them. Meaning if you own a grocery store or if you own a farm or whatever, if you have people that work for you, the Sabbath day is a law against you so that you will give them that day off. You cannot make them work. On Saturday, they have to have that day off. But because these are fake Israelites, even back then, they believed that meant that you could do no work, which is stupid. It's dumb. You have fake Israelites today who think that on a Sabbath day, they can't use a microwave because using a microwave is pressing a button, or you can't flip on a light switch and things like that, which is stupid. And so they believe the same thing, which is why they were not going to fight on a Sabbath day, because fighting, of course, would be work. Keep going.
So then they gave them the battle with all speed.
And so the king gave battle, meaning they went to kill him. Keep going.
Verse 36 reads, howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid.
Meaning they ain't cast a stone, or meaning they're not going to fight back because it's a Sabbath day. Keep going.
Verse 37, but said, let us die all in our innocence. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that you put us to death wrongfully.
And so this is like your Christian pastor, man. You understand? He's so weak. He's such a terrible leader. He tells them to not fight and that we just going to pray to God that heaven and hell will suffice for us and let us just die. You understand? You got an enemy that's coming to kill your family, and your Christian leader tells you, well, let's just bow our neck and let's just die. Keep going.
Verse 38. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people.
Meaning they killed thousands of them, man. Their wives, their children, their cattle, they killed all of them, man. And they didn't do nothing. They just sat there and died, just like what Christians do today. Your people get killed and you do nothing. You just sit there. You just sit there and die. Why? In the law of forgiveness, in the name of Jesus, you just sit there and just let people murder your people? Well, no sweat. Let's see what Mattathias did, though. Now, again, these are the same people as Mattathias, but they just weren't with Mattathias. They was on their own. But let's get back to what Mattathias is doing. Keep going.
Verse 39. Then when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. So when
Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore, meaning they were sorrowful because that's their brothers, man. Like the Christian church, man, those Christians in the church are our brothers. You are weak. If you're in the Christian church, you are weak and you do have terrible leadership, but you are still our brother nonetheless. And so when you die, we mourn. When Dylan Storm Ruth went inside of that church in Charleston, South Carolina and murdered you, we mourn. It hurt us for that, man, because you're our people. You were enslaved with us, just like we was enslaved with you. We ain't no different. We all Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, man. And we mourn the death, just like Mattathias mourned for those brothers. But their leadership is what got them killed. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 40. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fought not for our lives in laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth.
This brother said, man, look, if we do as our brothers did and we don't fight, they gonna just kill us all, man, and we ain't even gonna be a people no more. They gonna root us out the earth. Understand? Keep going. Verse 41.
Verse 41 reads, at that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him.
Oh, Mattathias says something different now. He said, whoever come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, they're going to do what?
Fight against him.
Nah, forgive them.
Fight against him.
Nah, hug them.
Fight against him.
Stroke their hair in the courthouse.
Fight against him.
They said they're going to fight against them. Even on the Sabbath day. They're going to fight because they're not going to allow their children to just be killed. They're not going to allow their people to just be oppressed. They're not going to allow a nation to push gentrification on them or to push the Trail of Tears or to allow them to be stuck and drunk out of their mind on reservations, or their babies to be crying in cages on the borders, can't find their parents, man. They're not gonna allow that to just happen to their people, man, because then them babies will die. Who gonna fight for the babies? Your Christian pastor ain't fighting for them. Your Christian pastor ain't down there fighting for them Haitian brothers who's being kicked out of Haiti, man. Haiti, France doing such a terrible thing to Haiti, man. Such a terrible thing. Got them brothers. Haiti used to be one of the richest places on the face of the planet Earth, and now they eating mud pies because France surrounds Haiti and makes sure that nothing can get exported or outported because France lost the revolution. And so now they just being a bullying the Haitians. Now, why don't America go to war with France and save the Haitians from eating mud pies, man? Like, that ain't a joke. That ain't funny. Them Haitians ain't got nothing to do with France right now. But France being a bully, and America don't give a damn about babies who don't have food, who don't have water, who don't have places to live. But America's supposed to be so great. It's supposed to be a great country. But we know Haiti is in a position that it is. You got Haitians in America. You got Haitians in America right now that make this country move, but you can't even go help their people, man. I know Haitians right now who wish they could go to Haiti and just visit their people, but they can't because it's so terrible in Haiti right now that they can't even go to their own homeland. But that's America, man. But you know why America is such a devil? Haiti has been oppressed for years. But the second that Russia drops a tax Ukraine, America sends $30 billion to save the Ukrainians. How much money did America send to Haiti to save the Haitians? None. But Ukraine, we got to save the Ukrainians. But the children of Israel, they don't care about you. But you know who do care about you? Commander General Yohana, which is why Captain Yatazak in Houston, Texas, and them small amount of brothers gathered up over $10,000 worth of supplies, water, and things that them Haitians needed, and they drove out of the country through level 4 security zones where police officers told them to not go because of the gang violence, and that they told them that they would die. And Captain Yatazak and all them brothers, they went through them zones and fed them Haitians and then somehow found their way back into America. Them brothers care about the Haitians, man. They risk their lives so that the Haitians can have some food and some water and some clothes and some things that women need and things like that, man. But America's supposed to be a superpower. And they don't give a dime. You understand? Which is why we shouldn't seek We shouldn't seek our refuge with them. We shouldn't think that they're gonna save us, man. Through history, they've been murdering our people. We ain't doing nothing to them. These brothers was just trying to have the Sabbath day. Was just resting on the Sabbath day, and they go and murder them. And this is what they do all the time, man. You understand? Read, keep going.
Neither will we die all. As our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
Neither will we all die as our brother that was murdered. You understand? Keep going.
Then he came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also, all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and there were estate unto them. And
so now word is getting out. Word is getting out that Mattathias and his crew, man, they rebelling against the king and his commandments, man. You understand? And so now Israelites from all over, from their cities and all different nations and different cities is moving in to join themselves with Mattathias, because Mattathias was a real nigga. You understand? Like Commander General Yohanan in the Isupk today. Brothers was in that Christian church, and they online and they listening to them brothers teach, and they said, hold on, that sound right. That sound like, yeah, I don't want to just allow my grandmama to die in some church. I'm gonna go be with them brothers. They training men up in them woods in that Hebrew academy. I'm gonna go get some of that. You understand? I'm gonna go get some of that so that I could protect my family. And them sisters, good night. Them sisters said, hold on. You telling me, I could get me one of them brothers right there? And they going for it. You understand? But this is what was happening with Mattathias. They started to roll with him. Keep going.
So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen, to
Succor, right? To hide, right? So they went on a rampage. They went out. They went hunting. It was hunting season now for Mattathias. Keep going.
Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars.
So again, like I said before, Mattathias, this is reminding you of who? This reminding you of what? Nat Turner, right? This is Nat Turner all over again. Mattathias, man, he went around and he started to smoke these kings for these nations for what they did to black people, man. And this is why your Christian church, you understand, is such a diabolical place, because even though our people are dying, your Christian church would tell you that you gotta love them. You understand? And in telling our people that we gotta love them, it directly teaches us to hate each other. Because you gotta love your oppressor so much, you can never just love a black woman. It's almost impossible to just love a black woman, because how can you love a black woman when the goal is to get a white woman? How can you do it? Which is why when brothers get rich and they make it to the NFL and they make it to the NBA, what do? They go get a white woman. Why? Because having a black woman that ain't good enough no more. Staying with that sister who was rocking with you from middle school, she ain't good enough no more, because we are indirectly taught that black is ugly. And that black woman ain't nothing. And if you poor, you got to be with a black woman. But if you rich, you could go get your white woman or a Chinese woman or an Asian woman. When we should be taught the truth, which is that black women are the greatest women on the face of the planet Earth. And they are. And it ain't even no question about it. But because of what we taught in these religions, it's like it's a battle against it, which is why you see such a fight against black men and black women, man. It's such a fight because we indirectly believe that all people are the scum of the earth. Why? Because everyone else thinks that we the scum of the earth. The Chinese believes that we the scum of the earth. Our oppressor believes that we the scum of the earth. And so we believe that we the scum of the earth, which is why we get a little bit of money or we get a little bit of status quo in this place, we start to look at the other black people as if they're nothing, as if they're trash. And that all comes from Christianity. It comes from Martin Luther King fighting and getting dog sick on him so that we could eat in white restaurants, so that we could drink from white water fountains. What does that do to black people? If you're willing to get hung by a tree so that you could drink from so if you're willing to get hung on a tree so that you could drink from a white water fountain, then what does that do? it makes you think what? That the black water fountain is nasty. Like you telling me I'm about to get spit on and dog sicked on me and rocks thrown in my head so that I can eat in a white restaurant? Then what the hell am I going to go to the black restaurant for? I'm not. I'm going to just keep going to the white restaurant. If I done went through all of this so I could get that, which is what they've done to us, man. But Mattathias and his men won't have that. You understand? And I'm going to read it again, verse 45. Then Mattathias and his friends went about and pulled down the altars. So they started to fight against the religions of the people at the time. Verse 46. And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly, meaning they started to push being black again, man. They started to push being black because being black is beautiful, and that's in the Bible. You understand? They started to push the circumcision again because of where we was living at the time. We was following after the statutes and the governments of the cities that was in rulership of our people. And so when we found those who were uncircumcised, we went and circumcised them quickly. Keep going, Sluggy. Verse 47. They pursue also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hands. Verse 48. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hands of the king. Neither suffered them the sinner to triumph. You understand? Verse 49. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his son, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Meaning he's setting the standard for his sons now. He's basically telling them, don't rebuke the strength that you've gotten from what we've done. Don't forget the pain that we endured. Don't forget the fights that we done fought, the battles we done had, the sacrifices we done made. Don't rebuke this strength that you have and submit yourself unto anybody. You understand? This is what he's telling his sons. Keep verse 50. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. This is what Mattathias is telling them. Be zealous of the law. You understand? Be zealous of the law and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. This is what your Christian pastor is supposed to be telling you, man. So why is your Christian pastor teaching you that the law is done away with? Someone answer that. Mattathias losing his life and on his deathbed, he telling his sons to never forget the law. Don't ever forget the law of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because that is what makes our people great. That's the only thing that makes our people great in this place is that law. And it was so great for them that they thought better to die for it rather than to give it up. You understand? But your Christian pastor will tell you it's okay to eat shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster. It's okay to be a homosexual, or it's okay to be, gender fluid, or whatever all that nonsense is. It's okay to do all of that stuff when it's not. It's not okay. According to God, you understand? According to the Bible, it's not okay. It's nowhere in the book where it's okay. Everywhere in the Bible, it's a sin, and the law is not done away with. You understand? If you could, brother, pick back up at verse 51.
This is the book of 1 Maccabees 2, verse 51.
Mm-hmm.
Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time.
Mm-hmm.
So shall ye receive great honor.
So shall you receive great honor, man. You understand? Remember these things that they've done so that you can receive that honor. Keep going.
In an everlasting name.
Keep going.
Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation?
Mm-hmm.
And if was imputed unto him for righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph in the time of his distress kept the commandment.
Mm-hmm.
It was made Lord of Egypt.
Keep going.
Phineas, our father, and made zealous of Aaron, obtaining the covenant of the everlasting priesthood.
Right, like right now, Mattathias is going over his sons, just the examples, just like I'm going over with you about Mattathias. He was doing the same thing. He was telling his sons about men that came before him that stood tall, that stood strong in keeping the laws of our Father, or to keep the laws of our God and the cultures of our God. You understand? This is what Mattathias is doing to his sons so that they never remember Drop that. Give me 2 Maccabees chapter 7. I'm gonna give you one more story for the sisters, man, because a lot of sisters, you find it hard to find yourself in the truth. But this truth, you got to be just as strong as brothers do in this place as well, man. Because the black women of our nation, man, y'all are the greatest commodity that we have. Without you, we can't be strong, which is why our oppressor attacks you indirectly. They attack you indirectly with their feminist movement, with all of these movements and all of these laws that they have to give you power over your husband or over ourselves, so that we would fight each other. You got it? Just start at verse 1. You're gonna start at verse 1. But so that we will fight against each other, because they know that if black men and black women are fighting against each other, then we'll never survive. We'll never make it. But we have to learn how to stay strong and stay together in these families that we create, man. And this is a black woman right here that y'all should look up to, man. If you a sister, man, and you need to find some strength to keep these laws, statutes, commandments, then this is a story right here that you should keep reference, man. 7 and 1. This is a story right here of a woman who was strong, man, in the same situation that Mattathias was in, under the same rulership, that was compelled to do the same things. But of course, this woman, she ain't Mattathias. She, of course, she can't run around and just kill everybody. You understand? She a woman, but she's strong, man. But she was a strong woman, and this is what she did. Read verse 1.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees 7, verse 1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken, compelled by the king against the law to take swine's flesh. So now the king in this moment right now is wanting the mother and her 7 sons to eat pork. And they know that eating pork is a sin against the Bible, or the sin against the nation of Israel, or our God, right? Keep going. And were tormented with scourges and whips. So they beat us with scourges and whips, just like they beat us in slavery, just like they beat Christ in Rome. Keep going. But one of them spake first, said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die, rather than to transgress the laws of our father. Now the first son said, what do you want from us? What is it that you think you about to learn from us? Because we ready to die rather than to break the law of our fathers. Keep going. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pains and cauldrons to be made what? So the king, you understand, being enraged, demanded pans and cauldrons, you understand, to be made hot, meaning he getting ready to torture these people simply because they not eating pork. Simply because they not eating pork, they getting ready to torture the children of Israel, or the mother and her 7 sons, for something as simple as that. And now you got to remember this, man. Remember this the next time you go out and you about to order a pork sandwich. And I know that sounds funny, right? But remember this, because this is real. And you Christian, and you believe in the Bible. And now this is a woman and her 7 sons and your ancestors, who they were being forced by the king to do something that you're going to do willingly tomorrow. You're going to go somewhere and order some pork with some shrimp and some lobster, and you're going to enjoy it. But yet this woman had to get tormented and tortured because she didn't want to break the law of God. So you better remember this, because it's not funny. You know, understand? Read, keep going. Which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first. So the brother who spoke first, they cut his tongue out. They cut his tongue out. You understand? Because he spoke first. Keep going. And to cut off the uttermost parts of his body. And to cut off the utmost parts of his body, meaning his members, his arms, his feet, things like that. Keep going. The rest of his brother and his mother looking on. Keep going. Now when he was thus man in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan. And so now after they done cut off all his extremities, or his members of his body, the brother was still alive. And even after all of that they done did to him, they brought him to the pan, man. And they put him in the pan, man, and burnt and seared him alive, man. They burnt this brother alive simply because he would not eat pork. Simply because he wouldn't eat pork. And now how weak are you
that you feel like you gotta smoke weed? How weak are you? You feel like you gotta sell drugs. You gotta do this. You gotta do that when you know what's wrong. This brother was tortured and tormented and put in a pot just for pork. You understand? You gotta have some, but this is the type of strength that we had, and we've always had this, which is why we were great. Which is why you hear stories like David and Goliath. David wouldn't have had that story if he was weak. David had that story because he was strong to stand up against that Philistine giant, man. But of course, we read about those stories in the church to get some courage, I guess. I don't know what they teach you in the church. They don't even teach the story correctly. They break it down. They butcher the whole breakdown of David and Goliath. God damn. You ain't never even heard the story of David and Goliath for real until you hear it in the truth. But nonetheless, they had to be fearless, man. And which is what these brothers is today. Oh, in this story right here. Keep going.
And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed,
Mm-hmm.
they exhorted one another.
And as the vapor of the pan, meaning he done got seared to death, they exhorted one another, meaning they comforted each other. They lifted each other up. Like, man, we got this, man. It's okay. It's okay. He good. He going to a better place, man. Like he gonna be back. We gonna see him again. You understand? Keep going.
With the mother
Mm-hmm.
to die manfully,
Mm-hmm.
saying thus,
Uh-huh.
the Lord God looketh upon us,
Mm-hmm.
and he, in truth hath comfort in us,
Mm-hmm.
as Moses in his song,
Mm-hmm.
which witness to their faces declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servant.
And so the mother just saw her son just get burned in a pan, and knowing that the rest of her 6 sons got the same fate that's coming. But she looked at them and they said, man, we got trust in the Lord, man. We trust in the Most High, and we know what we do, and the Lord have comfort in us. Why is the Lord having comfort in them? Because the Lord can trust that they will not break his commandments. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing to know that the Lord can trust in you, or the Lord can trust in me, that I'm not going to break his commandments, and I'm going to serve him, and I'm going to do it wholeheartedly, and I'm going to do it the right way, and do things the right way, and I ain't going to smoke weed, and I ain't going to smoke cigarettes, or celebrate Christmas, or celebrate Thanksgiving. I ain't going to do those things, so the Lord can trust in me, man. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 7 reads,
Mm-hmm.
so when the first was dead,
Mm-hmm.
after this manner,
Mm-hmm.
they brought the second to make him a mocking stock.
So now after they killed the first brother, they brought the second brother out to laugh at him. You understand? So that everybody can laugh at him and murmur at him and all of that, so that they could try to convince the other people that it's not worth it, that you don't want to be next. Right? Keep going.
And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair,
Mm-hmm.
they asked him, wilt thou eat before thee, thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?
And so they scalped this brother. They scalped this brother, and they said, you understand, after they pulled the hair off his head, they asked him, wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? Meaning, we gonna hurt you everywhere. Hurt you in your arms and your stomach and your body and your lower extremities and your feet and your legs. They gonna torture him unless he just do this one thing. Keep going.
Verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
But he answered in his own language and said,
and he spoke in the Hebrew, and he said, what?
No.
He said, la'ah. La'ah. I'm not doing it. Keep going.
Wherefore he also received the next torment in order,
Uh-huh.
as the former did.
Meaning what? They also put him in a frying pan, right? Just like his brother before him. Keep going. Let me see. Yeah, you keep going.
Verse 9 reads,
Mm-hmm.
and when he was at the last gasp, he said, thou like a furry takest us out of this present life,
Mm-hmm.
but the king of the world shall raise us up,
Mm-hmm.
who have died for his laws.
And so they talking to the king like, man, because you're enraged, you taking us out of this life, but the Lord, our God, is gonna raise us back up. We coming back. You understand? We ain't gonna submit to you because of the pain that you could commit to us right now, because we serve a God that can commit pain for you and your people forever. For generations, he can put your people in slavery. For generations, he could cause pain to you and your people. So this is nothing. Keep going.
Until everlasting life.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
After him was the third,
Mm-hmm.
made a mocking stock.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was required, he put out his tongue,
Uh-huh.
and that right son holding forth his hands manfully.
Meaning they told he knew that he was about to get the same fate, and he ain't even fighting. I ain't gonna do what he did, but he went out there and he said, "Here, take it. Take it. If you gonna chop my hands off, take them. If you gonna cut the tongue out of my mouth, take it. Go ahead and kill me, man, because I ain't doing this." He had the same spirit Mattathias had. I'd rather go to war and die rather than to disobey my God. Keep going.
And said courageously, these I had from heaven. And for his laws I despise them.
He said, "These I have from heaven," meaning what? What is he saying now? When he's saying that these I have from heaven, remember he's talking about his hands. What is he saying when he said, "These I have from heaven, and I despise them"?
Basically meaning that Yahweh or Yahweh Shemashia gave him his hands.
Right, Yahweh, right? The Lord gave me these hands, and for thy law, I hate them. Meaning, and this is something you got to really understand. The God gave me these hands. It's from him. These hands don't belong to me. But if you chopping my hands off is what is going to make me disobey my God, then I hate my hands anyway. Take them. If this book is the thing that's going to make me disobey God, well, then for my God, I hate the book. I'll give it to you. You don't got to take it I'll give it to you. Here, take the book. You understand? Which is what he's saying about his hands. If whatever about me is what makes me disobey my God, then take it. And that's what you got to have. You got to have that strength with everything. With your woman. Your woman says, if you keep going into them classes, then I'm taking your child away. You ain't going to never see your child ever again. If your child is the thing that makes you disobey your God, then you should say, I hate my child. Take it. Because that's what Abraham had to do with Isaac. You understand? But in doing so, the Lord will bless you. And the Lord, you'll have your child. And we ain't going to get into that. But for those listening, don't try to stand in front of anyone and them trying to serve the Lord. Because good night. But no sweat. But he said, take my hands. Keep going.
Insomuch, verse 12, insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for that he nothing regarded the pain.
And he was so strong that the king and his men was like, damn, this brother right here is solid. And which all your oppressor will do the same thing today. Like, they ain't gonna like the fact that you aren't a good American or you ain't a good Christian, right? Of course, we are perfect citizens in America because in the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, we teach all men to follow the law of the land. I mean, you follow the law of America. You don't, evade taxes. You don't not wear a seatbelt. You don't run stoplights or rob banks or do anything like that. We don't do stuff like that. You in here, you taught to be a perfect citizen. You understand, and that's it. But of course, you understand. Salaki. Of course, even with that, we are still not your typical Christian. And even though America may not like it, they are going to marvel at the courage that you have to stand up for your people, because that's just what any man would do. Any man going to admonish at the courage that you have, because it's something that it's a glorious thing to have, regardless of how it's directed. Keep going.
Verse 13. Now, when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So basically, the king is doing this to all of these brothers, all of them. You understand? He's tormenting and torturing all of them in the same way. Keep going. Verse 14. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good, being put to death by men, to look for hope from God to be raised up again by him. He said it's good to be put to death by men, to look for hope from the Lord to raise me up again. Because they knew, even then, they knew and believed in reincarnation. They knew reincarnation was real. That even when they died in that life, that they were going to get reincarnated into another one. Keep going. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life.
Keep going.
Afterward, they brought the fifth also and mangled him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 16. Then looked him unto the king and said, Thou hast power over men.
Mm-hmm.
Thou art corruptible.
Mm-hmm.
Thou doest what thou wilt. Thou wilt.
Drop down to verse 20. And so at this point, the king is just tormenting all of the brothers, killing all of them, all 7 of them. Well, at this point, when we drop into verse 20, he done killed all 6 of them. There's 1 brother left, and the mother, of course, who was left. Keep going, or read verse 20.
This is verse 20 reads, but the brother was marvelous.
But the mother.
But the mother was marvelous above all.
But the mother was marvelous above all. Hey, Shalom, sis. If you, Most High Crime Tawab, how you doing, sis? If you got any questions, just type it in the chat. You understand? Read that one more time, Salah. Again, Salah, if anyone have any questions at any point, just, if you're in the room, raise your hand. If you're on live, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, just type the question in the chat, and I'll get the question and we'll get it going. Salah, read that one more time.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees 7, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
But the mother was marvelous above all.
So now, after all of her 6 sons had got murdered in front of her and tormented, the mother was marvelous of all. Now, remember, it's very common for a mother, especially in a situation like this, for her to be weak. It's very common. Like, you got to imagine, this mother done watched 6 of her sons get killed in front of her. But this moment right here, man, she was strong. She was solid as a mother could ever be. You understand? Keep going.
And worthy of honorable memory.
Uh-huh.
For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of 1 day, she bare with a good courage.
Now, this woman is worthy of honorable memory, man. Meaning we shouldn't forget about this sister right here. We shouldn't forget about her. Lord knows, she might be your great goddamn grandmother. You don't know. You understand? But either way, she our sister nonetheless, and we shouldn't forget about her because what she did, man. You understand? And she done seen all of her sons slain in 1 day, and she had courage about it, man. Keep going. Verse 21. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Because of the hope that she had in the Lord. Verse 21. She exhorted every one of them in her own language.
And remember, it was important that they spoke in their own language. They spoke in Allah Shuan Kodash. You understand? She looked at her sons and said, Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shah. You understand? And to her own sons, and the king couldn't understand what they were saying. But it was powerful in what she was saying because it was their language, and it's also the language of the angels. Keep going.
Filled with courageous spirits, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach.
And she's stirring her womanish thoughts. Remember, a woman, she's the weaker vessel. And so usually a woman in this situation would have been doing what? Panicking. No, please, no, son, just eat the pork. Just eat it. No, I can't watch this. I can't look at my son die. I can't do that. No, just eat a woman usually would probably act somewhere along those lines. But this woman, she's stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. Meaning she's holding it in. She's holding it in, and she's doing a great job of what she did. Keep going.
She said unto them, verse 22, I cannot tell how you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath, nor life, neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you.
Meaning, I don't know how you got here, because of course she's giving credit to the Most High. Keep going.
Verse 23, but doubtless, the creator of the world, who formed the generation of man, and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath.
And again, she's reassuring her sons, right, that even though the king at this time is going to kill them because they are not going to transgress against the law of God, that they're going to come back again, even though they're dying now. Keep going.
In life again, as you now regard not your own selves for his law's sake.
Keep going.
Verse 24. Now
Antiochus.
Thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be reproachful speech, whilst the youngest was yet alive, and not only exhort him by words, but also assured him with oaths that he would make him both a rich and a happy man.
And so now he's trying a different tactic. He's trying a tactic that America has played on all of us today. But if you just submit yourself to this, you're just going to be rich and happy. You have a good life. And you're just going to be comfortable. Right? Keep going.
If he would turn from the laws of his fathers, and that also he would take him for his friend and trust him with affairs. Verse 25.
Let me see. Drop down to verse 27.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees 7, verse 27. And it reads, but she bowed herself towards him, laughing the cruel tyrant to score, spake in her country language on his manner.
So the king tried a different tactic and was using the mother's weakness against her son, and told the mother, basically, save your son's life. Tell him, man, just do this so he don't have to die. You know, you can save his life right now. And so she laughed at the king and said, okay, I promise I'll talk to him. I'll go holler. And she looked at her son, man, and she laughed and she spoke in her own language again. Keep going.
Oh, my son, have pity upon me that bear thee their 9 months in my womb, and gave thee suck 3 years, and nourished thee, and brought thee up unto this age, and endured the troubles of education.
You understand? So she just saying, you know, basically, you understand, like, have pity on me, man, that you in this situation, that I bore you 9 months in my womb. I gave you suck for 3 years. I nourished thee, and I brought thee up to this age and endured the troubles of education. You understand? I raised you up. You understand? I did all of these things for you, son, but now listen to me. I did all of this for you. Now your turn to listen to me. Read verse 28.
Verse 28 reads, I beseech thee, my son.
Meaning, I beg thee, I urge thee, my son. Keep going.
Look upon the heavens and the earth and all that is there, and consider that God made them of things that were not, and so was mankind made likewise. Verse 29. Fear not this tormentor.
Meaning, don't fear Antiochus. Don't fear this king of the Greeks. This was the Greeks who was doing this to our people at this time. You understand? And there's famous stories of the Greeks and the Romans and their torture that they did to the Israelites, even during the Jacobite Empire. You can look up Jacobite coins to this day, and they have pictures of them torturing the Jews, even back then when they was the Greco-Roman Empire and the Grecians and Hellenists. Even all of that is history that they used to do. These things happen all the time. You understand? But she's telling her son to consider the things that the Lord created. Consider that everything we see, the Lord created, even this king, even Antiochus, he created him as well. Keep going.
But being worthy of thy brother, take thy death, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brother.
Good night. This mother said, remember, this mother just seen all 6 of her sons killed because they wouldn't eat pork. Antiochus was trying to force them to eat pork, and she seen all of her sons murdered so that because they wasn't going to transgress the laws of their God. And she telling her youngest son, she said, be worthy of thy brethren and go die, so that when we die and I get your 6 brothers back, you'll be with them. You understand? Like, that's a mother right there, man. That's a mother. That's a strong woman right there. Good night. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 30. While she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, whom wait ye for? I will not obey the king's commandment.
Keep going.
But I will obey the commandment of the law that was given unto our fathers by Moses.
But I will obey the law that was given unto our fathers by Moses, man. Meaning this law is not done away with. And again, like this, just to end it off, man, that son was murdered by Antiochus and then also the mother, man. You could drop it. You could drop that. Give me Romans 10:2. And we're gonna end here, man. But that all of them was murdered. This woman just seen all 7 of her sons murdered because they would not break the law of eating swine's flesh, or to eat pork, rather. You understand? And so what does that make of you when you willingly do these things? What does that make of you when you listen to the Christian pastor tell you that the law is done away with, that you could be whatever you want to be, or do whatever you want to do, or sleep with whoever you want to sleep with, or eat whatever you want to eat? You understand? Or live whatever kind of lifestyle you want to live, alternative lifestyle or not. What does that make you? It makes you weak. It makes you a sucker, man. You're so selfish. You're so selfish thinking that you have free will, thinking you can do whatever you want to do when there's people who died before you because they knew that they couldn't. And you don't give a damn about them. But yet you'll pick up this book and you'll consider this book to be holy. You'll consider this book, this Bible, to be a holy Bible, and you'll prance around with it as if you really give a damn about the book. You don't. You go in a Christian church every Sunday and you don't ever open it up. You don't ever read about this woman. And the Bible says that she's worthy of honorable mention. But this is the first time you're hearing about it. This is the first time you're hearing about it by typing on to this class, by listening on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. But yeah, you've been in the church. Your grandma been in the church for over 60 years and ain't never heard about this woman and her 7 sons in the book of Maccabees. You ain't never heard about the things that's in this Bible that teaches us that we have to follow the law. But yet we go to church every Sunday. We go to church searching for God every Sunday, but yet we don't get nothing but lies, man, and blasphemies against the Lord, which is what makes our people so destroyed like they are today, man. Go ahead, read what you got.
This is the book of Romans 10, verse 2.
For
I bear them record that they have a zeal of God.
This is Paul, man. He said that I bear the record that my people have a zeal for God, meaning you have a want to serve the Most High, which is why you go to church, which is why you're in the mosque, which is why you study in those books, or you think you have a spirituality because you have a zeal for the Most High. You want to serve God. Keep going.
But not according to knowledge.
But it's not because of what you know. It's not according to what you know. You just in the church, this is in there. You ain't learning nothing. You just in there thinking that you're serving God, but it's not based on knowledge. It's not because you know who Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is. It's not because you know the story of Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah. It's not because you know what Moses did in Egypt. It's not because you know what the Lord wants from you. It's because of what you feel. Because you feel like what you do outwardly is what makes you a child of God. You feel like because you wear a cross on your neck that you're a child of God. When the Bible teaches you is that what you do inwardly is what makes you a child of God. The things that you do when no one sees it. You understand? That's what makes you a child of God. And I just gave you 2 examples of people who will forever be immortalized as children of the Most High, man. Mattathias and this woman and her 7 sons, man, which is why we're reading about this today, man. Because they stood strong when they could have been weak. They fought when they could have surrendered. They died when they could have lived. You understand? But now what are we going to do? Now here we are in 2022, and that same oppression is on us today. You don't think that it's oppression because you ain't running away from lynchings and running away from mob murderers and things like that until it comes to your house. Until that police officer runs into your apartment and shoots you while you eating ice cream. And then now you on World Star Hip Hop, but now you dead. Until you on the ground with some racist cop with a knee on your neck for 8 minutes and 37 seconds. But then it's too late. Until it's you getting shot in your back 40 times. But then it's too late. Which is why you need to fight against it right now. Before it's too late. Before your brother gets murdered. Before your sisters get murdered. Before your children's school gets shot up next. Before your grocery store gets shot up next by some devil who has reparations on a barrel of an AR-15. Now is your time to follow in the footsteps of Mattathias and to follow in the footsteps of this woman and her 7 sons. Now is the time to do it. You understand? And the only way to do it is to get into the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, get into these classrooms, man, and start to learn the truth of this Bible, man, and learn how to follow the law, statutes, commandments. And with that, I'm going to end the class, man. Hey, shalom.